After a giant snake was strangling her, alien girl turns the tables by squeezing the human snake, the dense foliage of Eden Prime seemed to breathe with malevolent intent as Evra pushed through the undergrowth. Her crimson skin glistened with sweat, contrasting sharply against her silver hair that clung to her neck in damp tendrils. The xenobiologist's slender fingers gripped her scanner tightly, its faint beeping the only sound besides her labored breathing. Just a few more samples, she muttered to herself, adjusting the tight black environmental suit that hugged her curves. The consortium can kiss my ass if they think their Forbidden Zone designation will stop scientific progress. Eden Prime wasn't just dangerous, it was unpredictable. The planet's unstable ecosystem had produced evolutionary marvels and monstrosities alike. Iris's research on adaptive predatory behaviors could revolutionize xenobiology across the galaxy if she survived long enough to publish. She knelt beside a peculiar fungal growth, its surface pulsating with bioluminescent patterns as she reached to collect a sample. A subtle shift in the air behind her made her freeze. Too late, something cold and muscular whipped around her ankle, yanking her off her feet. The scanner clattered away as she slammed into the ground, knocking the wind from her lungs. And before she could react, more coils wrapped around her body, thick, powerful, and an unnatural electric blue. Fuck, she gasped, struggling against the constricting pressure. The massive snake, easily 20 feet long and as thick as her thigh, tightened its grip. Its scales radiated an eerie glow, clearly one of the many species mutated by the planet's mysterious anomalies. Ever's ribs creaked under the pressure as the creature began its methodical death squeeze. Her vision started to blur, black spots dancing at the edges. The suit's reinforced fibers were barely holding against the crushing force. In desperation, she reached for the small blade at her hip, but her arms were pinned. Not like this, she wheezed, her lungs fighting for air that wouldn't come. The crack of displaced air and a flash of energy cut through her fading consciousness. Something warm splattered across her face, blood, but not her own. The pressure suddenly lessened as the snake's coils spasmed and loosened. Hold still, Red, came a deep, growly voice. Unless you want to lose something important along with this oversized worm. Through her dazed vision, Evra saw a tall figure wielding what looked like an axe with a humming energy blade with precise, powerful strokes. The stranger hacked at the snake's body, severing coils that fell away from her like heavy ropes. As the last of the constricting weight fell away, Evra gulped in precious air, her chest heaving. Her rescuer stood over her, silhouetted against Eden Prime's emerald sky, broad shoulders, dark tasseled hair, and a face that combined rugged features with an irritatingly smug grin. You know, he said, deactivating his axe and hooking it onto his belt, there's a reason they call this place forbidden. He extended a hand down to her. Jack Stone, most folks call me Raider. Evra ignored his hand and pushed herself up, wincing at the bruises already forming beneath her suit. I didn't ask for your help. No, but you sure as hell needed it. His eyes, a striking steel gray, assessed her with unconcealed interest. Not many xenobiologists venture this deep into the jungle, especially not alone. How did you the equipment? He nodded toward her scattered gear, plus that suit's consortium issue research division. If I'm not mistaken. Evra narrowed her eyes. And what exactly is a human doing in a consortium Forbidden Zone? Jack's grin widened as he tapped the tactical vest that hugged his muscular torso. Let's just say import-export, the kind that doesn't involve a paperwork. A smuggler, she translated flatly. I prefer procurement specialist. He glanced at the dead snake, its severed body still twitching. That's a blue vortex constrictor there. Venom glands fetch a nice price in certain markets. Evra watched as he knelt beside the creature, pulling out a small kit of extraction tools. Despite her annoyance, she couldn't help but notice the efficient way his hands moved, the flecks of muscle beneath his fitted shirt. You have a name, Red? He asked without looking up. Evra retrieved her scanner, relieved to find it still functional. And I don't need a babysitter, could have fooled me. Jack stood pocketing several vials of iridescent blue fluid. Look, night's falling soon. These forests get real unfriendly after dark. I've got a camp set up in some ruins about 2 clicks east. You're welcome to tag along. Evra hesitated. Pride told her to refuse, but practicality won out. Her own shelter was hours away, and with night approaching, the predators would be hunting fine. She conceded, but this is a temporary arrangement and I can pay for your assistance. Jack's eyes lit up at that. Now we're talking. After you, Dr. and Vashi. He gestured forward with a mock bow as they moved through the jungle. Evra couldn't shake the feeling that she'd just made a deal with a different kind of predator. But as the distant howls of nocturnal hunters began to echo through the trees, she decided that some predators were preferable to others. At least this one had saved her life 4 Now the ruins emerged from the jungle like a fever dream, massive stone structures partially reclaimed by Eden Prime's relentless vegetation, faint blue light pulse from within, casting eerie shadows across crumbling archways and collapsed columns. Home sweet home, Jack announced, ducking under a vine-draped entrance. At least for now. Evra followed her scientific curiosity immediately. Piqued by the architecture, these aren't consortium constructions, they predate any known civilization in this sector. That's what makes them valuable. Jack activated a portable light illuminating a small camp he'd established in what appeared to be an ancient courtyard. A bedroll, cooking equipment, and several sealed containers were arranged neatly against one wall. And why I'm really here? Ever raised an eyebrow. I thought you were harvesting venom glands. Side business. He gestured for her to sit on a flat stone while he rummaged through his pack. The real prize is much bigger. He pulled out a small holographic projector and activated it. A three-dimensional image flickered to life, a serpentine creature with multiple heads, each crowned with luminous filaments. Its body appeared to shift between solid and translucent states. The locals call it the Phantom Hydra, Jack explained, his eyes reflecting the blue glow of the hologram. Supposedly evolved from the same genetic line as your blue friend back there, but much rarer and infinitely more valuable. The Phantom Hydra is a myth of Era scoffed, though she leaned closer to study the image. A campfire story told by consortium rangers. That's what they want everyone to believe. Jack's voice dropped to a conspiratorial tone. But I've tracked it, seen evidence, it's real, and it's here somewhere in these ruins. He deactivated the hologram and fixed her with an intense gaze. That's where you come in. Read your xenobiology expertise could help me capture it alive. Split the profits 50/50ths. And why would I help a smuggler capture an endangered species? Because it's not just any creature. Jack leaned forward close enough that Era could smell the earthy scent of him. Its venom contains compounds that could revolutionize medicine, regenerative properties unlike anything in known space. Despite herself, Ebra felt a flutter of scientific excitement. If he was right, this could be the discovery of a lifetime. I'll consider it, she said carefully, but first I need to rest. Nearly being squeezed to death takes a lot out of a girl. Jack chuckled and handed her a ration pack. Fair enough, eat something, we can talk more in the morning. As they ate in companionable silence, Avera studied the ruins around them. The pulsing blue light seemed to follow patterns almost like circuitry embedded in the stone. Have you explored much of this place? She asked, running her fingers along a wall inscribed with unfamiliar symbols. Just the outer chambers. There's a sealed door deeper in that I haven't cracked yet. He nodded toward a dark passage. Figured I'd saved the best for last. After I caught the Hydra, curiosity getting the better of her, stood and walked toward the passage. Let's take a look now. It's been a long day. Red, I'm not tired. She flashed him a challenging smile. Unless you're scared. That did it. Jack grabbed his light and axe, following her with a muttered curse. The passage descended gradually, the walls becoming smoother, more refined. The blue luminescence grew stronger, pulsing in time with what almost felt like a heartbeat. They emerged into a vast chamber dominated by a circular platform. At its center stood a pillar covered in the same symbols as the walls, but these glowed with internal light. Incredible, Ever breathed, approaching the pillar. Her scanner came to life, readings spiking off the charts. This is some kind of control system. The entire ruin might be a facility, not just a building. Jack whistled low. Worth even more than I thought. Evra's fingers traced the symbols, feeling a strange resonance. These patterns, they're similar to genetic sequences I've studied, almost like her hand pressed against a particular symbol which sank into the pillar with a soft click. The chamber hummed to life. The floor beneath them illuminated in concentric circles, and the pillar began to rotate slowly. A holographic display erupted around them, showing star charts, biological diagrams, and what appeared to be experimental data. Holy shit, Jack whispered, turning in a slow circle. What did you do? I think I activated, Era began, but I was cut off by a grinding sound from behind the passage they had entered through, sealed shut with a heavy thud. Simultaneously, a different doorway opened on the far side of the chamber, revealing a deeper section of the facility. Well, Jack said with a wry smile, looks like we're being invited in. Their eyes met across the glowing platform, and Evra felt an unexpected heat rise to her cheeks. There was something magnetic about him in the blue light, dangerous and alluring. Trapped in an ancient alien research facility with a smuggler, she said, trying to mask her reaction with sarcasm. Not how I planned to spend my evening. Jack's grin widened as he approached her close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from his body. Could be worse. Company, read. His voice had dropped to a husky timbre that sent an involuntary shiver down her spine. I suppose I should thank you properly for saving my life earlier, she replied. Surprised by her own boldness. I'm all ears, he murmured, his steel-gray eyes darkening as they dropped briefly to her lips. The facility hummed around them, ancient secrets waiting to be discovered. But for a moment neither of them seemed to care about anything beyond the charged space between their bodies. As they ventured deeper into the facility, the blue luminescence intensified, casting everything in an ethereal glow. Era felt a strange tingling sensation spreading across her crimson skin, starting at her fingertips and gradually flowing through her entire body. Do you feel that? She asked, examining her hands. Faint patterns similar to the symbols on the walls had begun to appear on her skin, glowing with the same azure light. Jack stepped closer, taking her hand to examine the markings. What the hell? It's responding to my physiology, Evra murmured, both alarmed and fascinated. My species has natural empathic ability, subtle, usually just enough to sense emotional states. This facility must be amplifying them somehow. The moment Jack's fingers touched hers, a jolt of sensation passed between them. Evra gasped, suddenly overwhelmed by a flood of unfamiliar emotions, not her own but Jack's. Curiosity, concern, and beneath it all a powerful current of attraction that made her knees weak. Jack jerked his handbag, eyes wide. What was that? You felt it too? Evra's heart raced. The facility is creating some kind of psychic link between us. I could feel what you were feeling. A slow, mischievous smile spread across Jack's face. Everything I was feeling. Heat rushed to Evra's cheeks. Yes. Everything. They continued through a series of chambers, each filled with more holographic data. The deeper they went, the stronger the connection between them grew. Evra found herself increasingly aware of Jack's presence, the rhythm of his breathing, the quickening of his pulse when she moved close to him, the warmth of his thoughts. This place, Jack said, examining a hologram that appeared to show genetic modifications. It's like they were trying to enhance natural abilities, creating connections between different species. Not just connections, Era replied, studying another display. They were exploring empathic potential as a form of healing. Look at these biological markers. They indicate regenerative processes triggered by empathic resonance. Jack turned to her, his expression suddenly serious. Is that what's happening to you? Are you being changed by this place? Not changed, she corrected, flexing her fingers as the glowing pattern shifted. Enhanced. My natural abilities are being amplified. I can sense things more clearly, more deeply. She hesitated, then added softly, especially from you. They reached what appeared to be a central chamber, a dome room with a raised platform in the center. As they stepped onto it, the entire room illuminated and the door sealed behind them with a soft hiss. Great, Jack muttered. Another trap. Not a trap, Ever said, feeling the energy of the room pulsing in time with her heartbeat. A sanctuary. This was where they conducted their most important research. The walls around them came alive with images, beings of various species connected through glowing tendrils of light, sharing energy, healing one another. The scenes shifted to show what appeared to be intimate encounters. Partners exchanging not just physical pleasure but something deeper, a sharing of life force itself. Well, Jack said with a low whistle, that's not in any archaeological textbook I've ever seen. Evra couldn't help but laugh. And the sound echoing in the chamber they were studying, the connection between intimacy and healing, between pleasure and regeneration. The patterns on her skin pulsed brighter and she felt a sudden wave of dizziness. Jack caught her before she could fall, his strong arms encircling her waist. You okay, Red? The moment he touched her, the connection between them flared like a supernova. Ivora gasped as Jack's emotions flooded her consciousness. Concern, yes, but also desire, burning hot and urgent, and beneath it all something unexpected, a loneliness that mirrored her own. I can help you, she whispered, steadying herself in his arms. And you can help me? Help how? His voice had grown husky, his pupils dilated as he looked down at her. Evra placed her glowing hands on his chest, feeling the rapid beat of his heart. My people have techniques, healing methods based on our empathic abilities. With what this place is doing to me, I could share something with you that few humans have ever experienced. Jack's breath caught. And what do you get out of this arrangement? The same thing you do, she replied with a small smile, relief. Connection and data for my research, of course. He laughed at that, the sound rumbling through his chest and into her palms. Always the scientist, always, she agreed, then grew serious. But this is more than science, Jack, this is sacred in a way, a true exchange of energy. His hands moved to her waist, gentle despite their strength. I'm not much for sacred things, Reed, but I'm willing to learn. The patterns on Ever's skin began to spread to wherever Jack touched her, creating a circuit of light between them. She guided Him to sit on the edge of the platform, positioning herself behind him. Relax. She murmured, her fingers finding the tense muscles of his shoulders. Let me show you what I can do. As her hands worked their way across his body, the empathic connection deepened. Each touch transmitted not just physical sensation, but emotional resonance. She could feel his initial skepticism melting into surprise, then pleasure, then something approaching awe when her hands moved lower, applying pressure to specific points with expert precision. Jack let out a sound that was half gasp, half moan. Holy, what are you doing to me? He breathed, his head falling back against her shoulder. Thanking you, she whispered against his ear, for saving my life. The blue light enveloped them both, now creating a cocoon of energy that pulsed with their shared heartbeats. In that moment there was no smuggler and scientist, no human and alien, just two beings connected on a level that transcended physical form. I've never felt anything like this, Jack whispered, his voice filled with wonder as waves of pleasure and emotional connection washed through him. Ever smiled against his skin. That's just the beginning. The blue glow surrounding Jack and Evra pulsed with increasing intensity, their shared energy creating ripples through the chamber, like stones dropped in still water, lost in their connection. Neither noticed at first when the patterns on the walls began to shift, responding to their emotional resonance. It was Jack who sensed at first a presence watching them. Ever, he whispered against her neck, reluctantly pulling back from their embrace. We're not alone, she blinked, emerging slowly from their shared trance. The patterns on her crimson skin still glowed, but dimmer now as her attention shifted outward. Following Jack's gaze, she turned toward the far side of the chamber. There, partially phased through the wall, hovered the unmistakable form of the Phantom Hydra, just as the hologram had shown. The creature possessed multiple serpentine heads, each crowned with luminous filaments that swayed like underwater plants. Its body shimmered between solid and translucent states, the blue-white scales catching the light from the facility systems. Unlike the aggressive constrictor that had attacked Avera in the jungle, the Hydra's movements were deliberate, almost graceful. Jack reached slowly for his axe, but Avera placed a restraining hand on his arm. Wait, she murmured, it's not threatening us, it's curious. Through their empathic link, Jack could sense she was right. The creature radiated not hostility but interest, drawn to the powerful emotional energy they had generated. It's responding to our connection, Ever said, her scientific mind racing despite the lingering effects of their intimacy. The empathic resonance attracted it. The Hydra drifted closer, its multiple heads weaving in synchronized patterns as it approached. The holographic displays around the chamber shifted, showing new images, the Hydra itself interacting with the facility's original inhabitants. Look, Jack pointed, it's not just some random creature, it was part of their research. The holograms revealed the truth. The Phantom Hydra had been engineered as a biological interface designed to amplify and channel empathic energies throughout the facility. It wasn't a guardian or a weapon, but a living conduit. One of the Hydra's heads extended toward Evra, stopping just short of touching her glowing skin. She held perfectly still, her breath catching. What does it want? Jack asked, tense but trusting her judgment. Connection, she whispered. Just like we did. Slowly Avera raised her hand. The Hydra's head moved forward, luminous filaments brushing against her fingertips. The moment they touched, a cascade of images flooded through their empathic link, not just emotions now but memories, ancient memories stored within the Hydra's unique biology for millennia. Jack gasped as the memories washed over him. Through his connection with Evra, he saw the facility when it was new, filled with researchers of a species long extinct. He witnessed their groundbreaking work, the development of technology that could bridge the biological gaps between different species, allowing for deeper connections than evolution had ever intended. They were trying to create perfect compatibility. Evra breathed, her eyes wide with wonder, not just emotional or mental but physical. They wanted different species to be able to reproduce together. Jack finished understanding dawning. To overcome biological barriers, the Hydra drifted back, its purpose fulfilled. It had shared what it was programmed to share with those who demonstrated the appropriate empathic potential. The chamber responded, new sections of wall sliding away to reveal a laboratory space filled with preserved specimens and equipment. As they explored the lab, the holograms continued to play, showing the ancient researchers' ultimate goal, a universe where species barriers could be overcome, where love and connection weren't limited by biological incompatibility. They were visionaries, Ever said, examining a device that appeared to be some kind of genetic harmonizer. They believed empathic bonding was the key to true compatibility between species. Jack picked up what looked like a small crystal which glowed faintly in his palm. Did they succeed? Partially. Ever gestured to the Hydra, which now hovered near the ceiling. Observing them, they created biological interfaces like the Hydra in this Facility. It enhances natural empathic abilities, but according to these records, they never completed their work. Something happened, perhaps whatever caused their extinction. Jack approached her, the crystal still in his hand. Through their link she could feel his thoughts shifting, considering possibilities he'd never imagined before. So what you're saying, he said slowly, is that what we experience, that connection, it's just the beginning of what's possible. Evra nodded, her silver hair catching the blue light. With the right application of this technology, species that could never naturally reproduce might be able to conceive offspring together. The implications hung in the air between them, charged with potential. Humans and your species? Jack asked, his voice low. Theoretically, Audrey, she replied, a smile playing at the corners of her mouth, though it would require extensive research, practical experimentation. Jack's laugh was warm and rich. Always the scientists, always. She agreed, stepping closer to him, though I find my scientific objectivity is somewhat compromised at the moment. The Hydra descended, circling them once before phasing through a wall and disappearing as it left the facility's lights shifted from blue to a warm amber, and the holographic displays changed to show new information, detailed schematics for the genetic harmonizer technology. It's giving us their research. Ever realized everything they discovered about cross-species compatibility? Jack set down the crystal and took her hands in his. The glowing patterns on her skin transferred to his where they touched, creating a circuit between them. So he said with a roguish grin that sent a pleasant shiver down her spine, care to conduct some more hands-on research? Dr. Invashi. Evra laughed, the sound echoing through the ancient chamber. I thought you'd never ask, Mr. Stone. As they embraced again, the facility hummed around them, ancient technology awakening to serve its purpose once more, bridging the gap between two beings from worlds apart. Hours passed as Jack and Ever explored the ancient laboratory, their earlier intimacy creating a comfortable rhythm to their movements, anticipating each other's needs, finishing each other's thoughts. The empathic connection remained, though less intense than during their peak moments together. Ever worked diligently at a console, translating the ancient data, while Jack catalogued physical specimens and technology they might be able to transport. The amber light of the facility cast a warm glow over everything, making the cold scientific equipment seem almost homey. Jack, Evra called suddenly, her voice tight with an emotion he couldn't quite place. I need you to look at this. He crossed the room to find her staring at a holographic display of what appeared to be her own biological scan. The patterns that had appeared on her skin were now visible throughout her internal systems, a network of glowing pathways connecting to her reproductive organs. The genetic harmonizer isn't just enhancing my empathic abilities, she said, pointing to fluctuating readings. It's altering my physiology at a fundamental level. Jack frowned, studying the display. Is it dangerous? Not exactly. It's she hesitated, searching for the right words. It's making me compatible with humans. Specifically with you. The implications hit Jack like a physical blow. You mean my reproductive system is reconfiguring to accept human genetic material? She confirmed, her crimson cheeks darkening with what he now recognized as her species' version of a blush. The ancient researcher's technology is doing exactly what it was designed to do, bridging the gap between species. Jack ran a hand through his hair, processing this information. So if we were to theoretically, conception would be possible, she finished, though I'm not sure how stable such a pregnancy would be without continued support from the facility systems. A strange mix of emotions passed across Jack's face. Wonder, concern, and something that looked suspiciously like hope. Before he could respond, a spasm of pain shot through Evra, causing her to double over. Ever. Jack caught her as her knees buckled. The patterns on her skin flared brightly, pulsing with erratic energy. Too fast, she gasped. The changes are happening too quickly. My body can't adapt. Jack helped her to a nearby examination platform, his mind racing. What can I do? How do I help you? Through their empathic link he could feel her discomfort, not just physical pain but a sense of her body fighting against itself, caught between two evolutionary paths. The harmonizer she managed, pointing to a crystal device they discovered earlier. It needs to be calibrated. Slowed down, Jack retrieved the device, which hummed with energy in his hands. I don't know how to use this thing. I do, came a voice from behind them. Jack whirled, axe in hand, to find a tall, distinguished-looking man in an immaculate white suit standing in the doorway. His silver hair was swept back from a face that might have been handsome if not for the cold calculation in his eyes. Professor Thorne, Jack said flatly, not lowering his weapon. You're a long way from your fancy lab on Arcturus, as are you from your usual smuggling routes, Mr. Stone. The professor stepped into the room, his gaze Moving appreciatively over the ancient technology before settling on Evra's pain form, I see you found something far more valuable than the trinkets I hired you to retrieve through her pain. Evra looked. Between them you know each other. Professor Edwin Thorne Jack explained, his voice tight. Head of xenogenetic research at the Arcturus Institute. He hired me to find artifacts from this region. Said they were for academic research, which was not entirely untrue. Thorne said smoothly, though I admit my interests are somewhat more commercial than I led you to believe. Another wave of pain hit Evra and the patterns on her skin flashed dangerously bright. Jack moved protectively closer to her. She needs help, he growled. You said you know how to use the harmonizer. Indeed. Thorne approached, his movements unhurried. I have spent my career studying fragments of this technology to find a complete facility with a live subject already undergoing transformation. His eyes gleamed with scientific avarice. Extraordinary. She's not your subject, Jack snapped. She's a consortium xenobiologist with more brains than your entire institute. Thorne raised an eyebrow. My apologies, professional habit. He extended his hand. The harmonizer, if you please. I can stabilize her condition. Jack hesitated, looking to Evra through their connection. He felt her reluctant agreement. They had no choice. He handed over the crystal device, watching like a hawk as Thorne made adjustments to its internal components. The professor worked with the confidence of someone who had indeed studied this technology extensively. Yeah, how did you find him? Jack asked, keeping his voice low. I've had a tracker on you since Arcturus. Thorne replied without looking up. Insurance, you understand, when it showed you remaining in one location for an extended period in a region known for ancient ruins. Well, I decided a personal visit was warranted. He finished his adjustments and approached Evo holding the harmonizer. Above her abdomen the device hummed, emitting a soft pulse of energy that interacted with the patterns on her skin. Gradually the erratic flashing stabilized into a steady glow. Evra's breathing eased as the pain subsided. Thank you, she said cautiously. You're quite welcome. Thorne studied her with undisguised fascination. The facility has initiated pair bonding compatibility protocols between you and Mr. Stone. Fascinating. In all my research I've only seen theoretical models of such transformations. Jack moved to Evra's side, helping her sit up. So she'll be okay for now, Thorne said, but the process has begun. Her body will continue to adapt unless the changes are reversed, and that window of opportunity is closing rapidly. Evra met Jack's eyes, a silent communication passing between them through their link. He nodded slightly, understanding her unspoken question. What exactly are you planning to do with this technology, Professor? She asked, her voice stronger now. Thorne smiled thinly. Imagine the possibilities. Controlled cross-species reproduction. Designer offspring with the best traits of multiple species. The market potential is substantial. You mean weapons? Jack said flatly. Soldiers engineered from the most aggressive species, among other applications. Thorne admitted, the consortium has kept species segregated for too long, limiting our potential. This technology could change everything. Evra slid from the examination platform, standing tall despite her recent pain. This isn't just technology, Professor, it's about connection. Understanding the researchers who built this place wanted to bring species together, not create biological weapons. Thorne's expression hardened. How charmingly idealistic, but I'm afraid I'll need both of you to come with me, particularly you, my dear, as a living example of the transformation process. You're now the most valuable specimen in the galaxy. Jack's hand moved to his axe. That's not happening. Tension crackled through the ancient laboratory as Jack's hand hovered over his axe. Professor Thorne's cold eyes darted between them, calculating his odds against the smuggler's obvious combat experience. Violence isn't necessary, Thorne said smoothly, raising his hands in a placating gesture. I'm offering you both the opportunity to be part of something revolutionary by treating her like a lab specimen. Jack growled. Evra placed a gentle hand on Jack's arm, the glowing patterns on her crimson skin pulsing with her heartbeat through their empathic link. He felt her intention, a plan forming in her quick scientific mind. Professor, she said, her voice calm despite the lingering pain of her transformation, you've studied this technology for years, but you're missing its fundamental purpose. She stepped forward and Jack tensed, ready to intervene if Thorne made any threatening moves, but Evra continued with confidence, her silver hair catching the amber light. As she approached the professor, this facility wasn't built to create weapons or commercial products, she explained. It was designed to foster understanding between species on the deepest possible level. Thorne's expression remained skeptical. Noble sentiments, but hardly practical in today's galaxy. Let me show You ever said, extending her hand toward him. My empathic abilities have been enhanced. I can help you understand what the creators of this place truly intended. Jack caught her eye concern evident in his expression through their link. She reassured him. Trust me. Hesitantly Thornton took her offered hand. The moment they touched the mariner, the patterns on Ever's skin extended to his arm, creating a faint network of